still till this day boggles my mind that people don't know how to raise capital.
You have to live the path of what you're talking about.
You guys, people are going to say no, whether it's the private money or deals you're doing or whatever.
One of the biggest hurdles most people have. Andrew, I can't find the money. Hey guys, today on the podcast, we're going to talk about how do you raise capital with Miss Amy. So this is going to be a great episode. Let's listen, learn, and let's grow together. Hey guys, welcome. Today we have Miss Amy Mahjoory, and this is going to be fun because the number one thing that stops most investors from getting started in real estate, that is money. So today we're going to talk about how do you get private money, how do you raise private capital for your deals. So Miss Amy, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Great to have you. So, Ms. Amy, before we kind of jump into the topic of private money, you want to kind of give a little bit of brief background. How did you end up in real estate, and then how did you specifically start talking about private money?
Sure. It was all on accident. I worked a corporate job for the first 14 years of my career at Dell Computers in Austin, Texas, coming, out of a Middle Eastern upbringing. Culturally, our family held education at a very high standard. So 14 years into my very secure and stable job with Dell, I decided to shift gears and start dabbling in real estate really just as a side hustle. I was an HGTV junkie. My family was not supportive. My dad didn't talk to me about what I was doing for 2 years. But I've always been very competitive, very type A, played sports, through college. So even just as a hobby, I knew I wanted to flip houses, really just for fun while I pursued what I thought was my dream job with Nike. And I did not know what I was doing. I invested in a coaching program and they taught me everything from A to Z, hiring contractors, flipping, creating a scope of work, all that good stuff. And then really what happened was my very first year as a brand new part-time real estate investor while still working my full-time job at Dell, because I knew how to raise capital, which I didn't even know I knew how to do. I ended up buying, renovating, and selling 10 properties in downtown Chicago my very first year. And so really two things happened at the end of that first year. Number one, I saw that there was no cap on my earning potential financially. I'm very transparent. I was at Dell for 14 years. I have an MBA. And when I left Dell, I was grossing $87,000 a year. And my very first year as a brand new part-time real estate investor, including losses that first year, I still net north of 120. So even though the financial earning potential was there, more importantly was number two, I really did fall in love with the transformation process, and I've been a flipper ever since.
Got it. So today, do you have a lot of rental properties, or do you mostly concentrate on flipping?
No, both. So I flip as my active income. So I'm flipping. I don't really wholesale as much anymore. For those of you out there listening who are brand new real estate investors, the natural path is let's wholesale and then start flipping and then buy single family homes, right, to build your passive income portfolio. I did all that in the beginning. I still love flipping. I do it on a much smaller scale here in Austin, Texas, and out in San Diego, California. And we got rid of all of my rentals. And what I do now, same with my husband, we met at a real estate conference, don't work together. A lot of people think we work together. We don't. Everything is still separate. But we invest passively into commercial syndications now. So whether it's apartment buildings or shopping centers. So that's how we build our active income through flipping. And then we invest it passively by lending to other real estate investors or investing in syndications.
Got it. Okay, perfect. So initially, I guess your kind of ability to be able to raise private capital, did that, you kind of mentioned that you didn't even know you had that ability. Was that kind of the corporate training which lended itself really well when you came into real estate on the flipping side of things? Is that what happened?
I'm very appreciative for Dell and the opportunities they presented. No, I did not learn how to talk to people from Dell. I actually think it was my upbringing. My family is very unique where I always say I have three moms and three dads. That's because my mom and her two sisters married my dad and his two brothers. No, none of it was arranged. And so we all lived within 2 miles of one another. So starting at age 5, I had to learn how to navigate 13 different personalities, including my double cousins, right? 3 moms, 3 dads. And I really think that set the foundation and the tone. And I didn't even realize until I was in my mid 30s that I just knew how to talk to people, how to build rapport with people, and really just focus on this is a huge thing, giving first and expecting nothing in return. At the same time, I was very passionate about what I was doing in real estate, and my audience could sense that, right? I was confident, I had the knowledge, I had the education, I knew what I was doing, I knew how to build a team. And so for the first 8 years of my real estate career, yeah, I was crushing it with raising private money. I made money, lost a bunch of money, talk about that too. And it wasn't until the height of COVID, when the entire world shut down, that I took a step back and I was like, oh, I guess I'll just start a coaching program and I'll start teaching people how to raise money, because it was like something that it still till this day boggles my mind that people don't know how to raise capital, or they don't know how to answer the hard questions, right? They don't know what to say, or they drop too much onto their private money lenders at once. But again, that's just my one strength, right? I always joke about like I'm terrible at everything else. And so it was really 3 years ago. I made a few phone calls. I just started coaching people on the side, and then it kind of just grew into this global coaching program, which I love. It's my number one baby, my priority. I'm very protective of the community I've built. But yeah, it kind of just happened on accident.
Got it. So, what do you tell? Because that's one of the big things that people run into is that, oh my God, I don't know what to say. Or a lot of times people will just dump on people they've never met, and
Yeah,
oh, I'm looking for $100,000 or $200,000, whatever the amount is, and they don't know. Because what a lot of us fear, and this used to be my fear early on, was what if somebody says no? It's
sure.
going to be my personal ego. It's going to be me personally that they're rejecting. And we as a society obviously hate rejection, right?
Sure.
Where does one start if they're talking to people about private money?
Well, I love that you kicked it off with fear, because it's our mindset. Fear is the number one thing that holds us back, right? We also have fear in different parts of our businesses. And you guys, people are going to say no, whether it's the private money or deals you're doing or whatever. It's a part of the process. Every no gets you closer to your next yes. So, one of the things that's different about not really just my mindset, but I really believe that you guys don't have to depend on your friends and family members for money, because every educator out there is going to tell you raising money is easy. Just go ask your friends and family members. What if you don't want to? What if they're not in a position to invest with you, right? What if they don't have $100,000? And so for us as investors, it's like, how do you get out there and just talk to your mailman, your neighbors, people from church, people from your communities? And it starts with mindset. If you want to squash that fear, you really have to believe, number one, that you're providing others with an amazing opportunity to invest. No one's doing you a favor by lending you $100,000. You're doing them a favor by allowing them to invest with you. You're the one offering them double-digit returns backed by real estate. They don't get that in the stock market. They don't get that with, currency trading or money sitting in the bank. So it's really starting to educate yourself first on the basics that will give you that confidence to get out there and answer the hard questions.
Got it. So a lot of times, what I've suggested to people is, instead of saying, "Hey, do you want to lend me money?" It's a lot more looking at it from the standpoint of, "Would you like to participate in this deal?" Now it becomes more about the property. It becomes more about that deal, rather than a personal rejection to me. Because you're not rejecting me. You're just basically saying, maybe I don't want to participate in that particular opportunity. Is that a way you feel is more productive for people and less of a
Yeah,
personal rejection?
I think that sounds great. It all depends on what we're struggling with. That's a great approach. And at the end of the day, you guys, just think about the number one reason why everyone in this country is not acting as a private money lender, assuming they're in a position to do so, is because they're simply not educated on the process, right? So, Andrew, take your approach, whatever approach you want to use. I have a 4 second power pitch. I'm sure you guys have other approaches too. But it's really just taking the time over the course of multiple coffee talks or Zoom sessions to just educate your audience on who you are, what you do, what's in it for you, what's in it for them. Like, why do we leverage other people's money? It's not to save our money and put your money at risk, right? So, like, how do we explain to them that it's how we use real estate as our vehicle to achieving financial freedom? I'm just like you. I use my money to lend to other investors, or I used to go buy rental properties. So when I have access to private money, I'm giving you an opportunity to be the bank, right? And this is how I can take on more than one project at a time across different investment strategies.
Right. No, that makes perfect sense. And would you, for new people, because sometimes, there are two approaches. Some people will just go, and I've always felt this, that if you're the guy who knows everything about football and baseball or whatever, and one day suddenly you're going to be the next real estate guru, it's not very congruent with who you are, right? People see you as that guy who all they talk about sports. Sometimes you have to start acting in the direction that now you're going to be doing investing, and then start bringing people along with you, because a lot of times, and you have to live the part and act the part. You can't be this way in your other life and then not be congruent in terms of what you do, because I think a lot of times people are like, well, Andrew, everybody gives you money, nobody's going to. No, because you have to live the path of what you're talking about. Would that be correct?
Absolute, 100%, 1,000%, absolutely. So I like to follow this four-step unique methodology that I created called my FACT framework. And what you said, Andrew, is step one. A part of building our foundation is we're actually like practicing what we preach, right? We have a goal. We are active in our community. We have a buying criteria. We're building our teams. We're active on social media. I can't tell you how many people hate to be on social media. Get over it, because unless you have a online presence, that's the first thing a private money lender is going to do is Google you, go to your website, check your LinkedIn account, right? So you don't have to be a social media influencer, but have a presence and show them that you know what you're doing. Because every time you show them that you're doing something, interviewing contractors, walking a distressed property, meeting with a prospective private money lender, walking into a bank, these are all different controls, right, that you put into place in your business that builds that foundation. So people see that, oh, this former professional athlete actually knows what he's talking about or what she's talking about. So I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so I mean, that is basically important, that you have to live the message. And as you pointed out, that if you're doing something, a lot of times we all started on a hope and a prayer. I mean, this is where everybody starts.
Sure.
Yet, if you're going out to properties, if you're doing something, even if your offers are not being accepted, a lot of times it's important that you kind of let people in your worldview. A lot of times people are like, oh, they're a secret agent, nobody knows, right? It's like, hey, listen, if you are excited about doing something and you're genuine, you don't have to lie that I've done
Correct.
XYZ, but
Right.
present yourself. Because I think a lot of times, especially with men, women don't have as fragile egos as men do. We're very sensitive about things, of what people think, at least in terms of our perception. A lot of times it's like you don't have to fake it, but yet if you say, hey, I'm on my way somewhere, meaning I'm going to go on a journey, you'd be shocked how many people will approach you, say, oh my God, I've always thought about flipping houses. I've always thought about XYZ. Man, I never had the courage. I'm so excited that you're talking about it. And a lot of people are observing us. They may not say anything. We all do it all the time on social media. We'll see somebody's posts. We may not interact with the post, but we'll see, and then one day we're ready. Right? One day
Correct.
we're ready to take that action, like you kind of said, and now it becomes that, oh, you're the guy who does the real estate, right?
Correct.
So
And
then
you
you become the person to go to.
absolutely, and you said it again. You have to be genuine, you guys. Whether you're raising money or whatever you're doing in your real estate business, stop going to events worried about how many business cards you can hand out, how many people you can add to your buyers list. Always go to these events with a giver's mindset, right? And the law of reciprocity will find its way back to you. You being known as the person in your community, whether it's Chicago or wherever you live, as the person who really wants to help, someone who's authentic, true to themselves, not fake, real, talks about the good, the bad, the in between, you're not going to have a problem building a team, doing deals, or raising money.
Right. No, that makes 100% sense. As far as in terms of, because some people are numbers people, other people are not so much in terms of numbers people, would you say that somebody should kind of write out a business plan or have some benchmarks that they should show people that they talk to that may be interested? How detailed of a game plan should they draw out?
Yeah, so in my opinion, a very detailed game plan, but nobody needs a business plan. Nobody needs a proposal. The way I raise money and the way I teach my students to raise money is it's very simple. It's very black and white. I always started out with I could give you 100 scripts. Just be a normal person. So step 1 is you're just planting seeds. The minute you leave your house, everyone you encounter is a prospective private money lender. So how in the world do you announce to everyone without data dumping on them, like who you are and what you do? Some of you have probably heard of my 4-second power pitch. It's 13 words. So to those of you listening, it's 13 words. This is step 1 for the rest of your life. Doesn't matter if you're new or experienced. The next time you meet somebody new and they say, hey, Andrew, it's so nice to meet you. What do you do for a living? Well, Andrew, you've done a lot. So we don't want to disregard everything you've done, right? So you'll mention all the amazing things you've done, but you end it with, I also show people how to earn double-digit returns backed by real estate. It's so nice to meet you. What do you do for a living? Right. And so to the newbie investors, just say, oh, I show people how to earn double-digit returns backed by real estate. How about you? Because now they're going to be like, what? What do you mean? Tell me more. So that's step 1, is just planting that seed everywhere you go. Step 2 is still not numbers. You guys, we're not getting into any numbers anytime soon. It's basically the people who have expressed an interest in wanting to know more, whether they're in a position to invest or not, is just 2 things. You get onto a Zoom or you grab coffee if they're local and you simply explain to them in 15 minutes why we leverage other people's money. So what's in it for us and what's in it for you, the private money lender. That's it. That's step 2. And if they want to know more, cool. Then you go into your amazing team or your buying criteria or your target market. We still aren't talking numbers till the 4th or 5th meeting.
Got it. So basically, step 1 is you're kind of leaving them with, I help investors basically get double-digit returns. And number 2, you said, was that you're talking about kind of explaining what you do, correct?
Yeah, just at a
And
super
then
high
what's
level.
step 3?
Yeah. So then step 3 is after you've explained to them, what's in it for you and what's in it for me. I always end every single conversation. And this is just the way I talk, you guys. I don't care if I'm talking to hedge fund managers and investment bankers straight out of Wall Street or my mailman. Again, I am my authentic self, right? I just say, so that's a little overview of who I am and what I do. And if you want to know more, cool. And if not, no pressure. They always say they want to know more. And so I say, okay, so the next step is I'll email you my 6-page list of frequently asked questions. Take a look at that. I'll give you a call next week to circle back on that. So what you're doing now is you guys want to have like a folder of different, what I refer to as credibility pieces, that those are your excuses to call your private money lenders and follow up with them. Cool. Do you have any questions on my list of FAQs? No. All right, great. Do you want to know what the next step is? If so, let me introduce you to my team. Right? That's another one of your credibility pieces. Or let me show you why I've picked this pocket in the north side of Chicago. Or this is how I analyze deals, right? So what are all the controls you put into your business that minimizes risk? It doesn't guarantee everything, right? So it's going to be like the 5th or 6th touch point where you'll get some sort of if you set it up the right way, a soft verbal commitment from someone saying, hey, you know what? I think I'm interested. Let me know the next time you have an opportunity. That doesn't mean anyone's wiring the money. So steps 3, 4, 5, 6, until you get the verbal commitment, is another presentation. Maybe you talk about 401k, self-directed retirement accounts that they can pull from. Maybe they have money in the stock market they want to liquidate. Maybe one Zoom session is you take them through the contracts you use to protect, secure, and ensure their investment. And then you do that until they say yes.
Got it. That makes perfect sense. So, it reminded me of what you were kind of talking about. A lot of times, you'd be shocked how many people have a 401k at their past company and they don't even know it. I mean, I can recall when you were talking, made me remind me of somebody that fairly early on when I was new, right? It's like, Andrew, man, I want to invest. I want to do X, Y, Z, blah, blah. I mean, literally, I was like, hey, it'll work out. It'll work out, right? He was a teacher from a Catholic school, and he had no personal savings of himself. 3 days later, comes back. I never asked him, and he's like literally exuberant, as if he won the lottery, right? I'm like, you should look into maybe just for your own sake. I'm sure they have some sort of pension. You worked all these years. I'm sure there's a 401k or something. He had no idea. He had no clue. And he brings me a Schwab, or I don't remember, one of those statements. And he's like, oh my God, I have like $412,000. Like for him, that was a literal lottery. And he's like, Andrew, I'm ready to go. I'm like, listen, let's just take it one step at a time,
Yeah.
right? I'll borrow 100. once 6 months from now, look at the performance, look at what you get, then the second, then the third. And it even at that time, for me, 400,000 was not, I didn't have that many deals at the time,
Mhm.
right? And I was just doing 3, 4 transactions at a time. So, and what it did was, he's like, oh my God, that's so nice of you. Right? I was building my business. I was
Mhm.
scaling up gradually rather than suddenly borrowing 400,000 bucks. Now you owe the interest, and now because you're building rapport. And
Right.
what is the beauty of that is that over last 10 to 12 years, that 400,000 each year, he has come in and rolled it, rolled it, rolled it. I mean, it literally grew to close to about 1.2 million bucks,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And he's like, oh my God, I could have never made this kind of money, Andrew. Thank you. And it's like, actually, it's not thank you to me, it's thank you to him. Because
Mhm.
not only is he benefiting, but because of that, early on, that was, and a lot of people like that will come and genuinely will be a part of your success, and vice
Mhm.
versa, right? And he has never bought a single piece of real estate, yet
No.
it helped me buy 50, 60, 70 different rental properties that I've owned over the years. And I'm grateful for the money that he has lent, right? And a lot of times you're literally, and he's like, oh my God, it's as if found money. It was not my money to find,
Right.
it was his money. And a lot of times, Amy, people don't know that they may even have funds that they're not using.
Absolutely. You just said so many, you shared so many gems. So, first of all, the concept of compounding interest really can help us exponentially grow our wealth. This is a whole nother conversation, you guys. But when you get your private money lenders to invest with you, then reinvest, they're just going to make more money faster. There's over $33 trillion in our retirement accounts in the United States. And Andrew, to your point, it just goes back to lack of education. The majority of people in our country don't even know that they can leverage life insurance policies, health savings accounts, self-directed 401k accounts, right? To invest in real estate. So it's our job as the business owners and entrepreneurs to get out there and educate them. And all that said, absolutely. We are creating win win situations. It benefits us both, right? Also, be really selective, you guys, of who you choose to bring on as a private money lenders because we're in this business because we get to set the tone. We get to pick and choose who we want to work with. And your private money lenders, believe it or not, will become your friends. They'll become your families. You're going to go on vacations with them. So be selective. And remember, you don't need everyone's money. There are plenty of people who I have respectfully turned away because we don't align, ethically or morally. And so again, it goes back to staying true to yourself. And even if this person has, I don't care how deep their pockets are, if you just don't like them or you don't connect with them, forget it, move on. There are enough people who will say yes. You don't need that in your circle.
Going back to a point that you just made, it becomes so important that, I mean, I'll never forget this local dentist does extremely well. Early on, one time, he came along and he's like, Andrew, I'm an artist. I'm like, good for you. I'm like, I'm not sure where this conversation's going, but he's like, I can give you like 500,000 bucks, but you have to do flips my way. I'm like, listen,
Hmm.
I won't tell you how to be a dentist. You're great, apparently, at what you do, and don't tell me how to run my business. So it's
Correct.
like, so you don't want to take my money? I'm like, no, no, no. I'd love to have you invest with me, but the tail is not going to wag the dog. The
Correct.
dog is going to whack the tail. And I'm like, I'm sure you have a great business plan and you have great ideas, but just as it would be inappropriate for me to come and tell you how to do practice dentistry, it's inappropriate because the ideas and the fantasies you have about real estate
Correct.
don't work in reality. And if you want to try it, God bless. Go ahead and try things your way. And he did just that. And his 500,000 went down to 300,000,
Mhm.
and then he ended up becoming one of my private money lenders because
Yeah.
he's like, no, no, let's do big flips. I'm like, that's not what my business plan is. We do
Sure.
small, sustained flips, and we just do it, a repeat of it over and over. And sometimes, and the power of no, the more you can start saying that, hey, no, this doesn't fit, people actually respect you for that in
Right.
the long run because they're like, if you're a successful business person or if you want to be, you can't just basically shift your business plan based on somebody else's opinion. right? You have
Absolutely.
to stick to what you feel is the right thing to do, because
Hmm.
that's a big thing. A lot of times people will come in. Is that kind of what you were referring to, that sometimes you have to be true to what your plan is or what your action plan is? Is that what you were referring to, Ms. Raby?
Yeah, 1,000%, you guys. You're in this industry because you are creating your own lifestyle by design. If somebody doesn't fit your criteria, let him go, move on, whether it's a private money lender or not. Two things to your point, Andrew, is number one, it is very important for your private money lenders to understand that they are silent stakeholders. They don't get a say in the transformation process. And number two is there are no guarantees. And I will say this on like the third meeting, probably, maybe even the second, depending on who I'm talking to. Hey, there are no guarantees. Worst case scenario, you have to be okay never seeing your $100,000 again. However, the probability of that happening is not likely, right? For all of these reasons, all the controls that we put into place. And to your point, Andrew, absolutely, they respect you more. And no, it does not scare them away, you guys, because they know you're being real. How many, I bet you the majority of investors out there don't talk about the bad times, don't talk about the losses, don't talk about the risks because they're scared they're going to lose a private money lender. The more you say no, and the more transparent you are, the more you peel back the curtain, the more they're going to respect you and probably invest with you.
That makes sense. I mean, I think, and again, the people that you want are people who are realistic people,
Mhm.
right? Because realistic people understand sometimes the market goes up, and if you have good controls, then guess what's going to happen? 9.9 out of 10, you'll probably win and it'll go in your favor. And sometimes it's going to happen. Your loans may get extended a little bit.
Sure.
But if you communicate with the lender, a lot of times, if you make them a part of your lending team, right? And it's the same with a
Correct.
banker, right? If you take a bank loan, let's just say you're doing construction on a big project, and you say, hey, I mean, a hurricane just went through, right? I mean, new construction in Florida, we had a hurricane that came through. Everybody understands. They're like, hey, are you okay? Is everything okay? Did it do any damage? Blah, blah. What you're doing is you're keeping them informed. And most of the times they want that. They like that, because now the worst thing you could ever do is go silent on somebody, because now they're like, oh my God, did he run away with the money? What happened? Am I ever going to get it back? And the people and you build resilience and you build good rapport by getting through the tough times. Anybody is great during, when everything is good. But
Right.
how you behave during tough times is what reveals your character.
Wow, we are the same person and we've never spoken before because I was just about to say it's the tough times that define us, right? And I'm very transparent about this. I was flipping houses. I was one of the very first developers, if not the first, to start renovating properties in North Center. This was 10 years ago. And it was the perfect storm. In 2017, I lost $1.4 million. This isn't my money. This isn't LLC. I'm sorry, this isn't LLC money. This is like my investors' money. And I made the choice. It probably impacted 20 different private money lenders. And look, contractually, I set all my contracts up the right way. I didn't have to pay anyone back. 2017 was the worst year of my life, but I chose to freaking problem solve, pivot, shift markets, go into the suburbs, still continue taking losses. But it's how you choose to navigate through those tough times, right? I put people on payment plans and resecured their investments with other properties. Now, don't do that if you don't want to, but it was like the perfect storm. And so think about too, like we were 6 months away from even selling these properties. And I'm calling every private money lender saying, we're going to take a loss. Here's what I'm doing to problem solve it. 1 to 2 times a month. I would call them and cry. But this is what's so crazy is because of the way I communicated and over communicated, even during those tough times, still till this day, all except for two have reinvested with me. We're all still friends. We all still keep in touch. I paid back the majority of them, but that's a huge point is how are you going to handle the tough times? Are you going to sign a personal guarantee? Right? Are you going to choose to pay them back out of pocket? So this is all a part of you being able to have those conversations up front.
Ms. Amy, that leads to my, I think, next thing, which is that whenever you're helping people understand raising private capital, do you tell them like get a fixed loan? Is it basically a return on investment sort of thing? Is it like a fixed 8%, 9%, 10% with a personal guarantee, or is it just to secured against the LLC wherever that particular investment sits?
Yeah, so and I teach both sides of lending, raising and lending. So
Okay.
whenever we're out there raising money, and I still do this 10 years in, I still offer, I always will tell you guys raise money in a debt position. Nobody needs to give up equity. If you want to give up equity, you can. I'm just telling you, like, you don't need to. So as a flipper, I always still offer a 12% annualized return. They get paid at the end of the project, one lump sum, principal and interest. Half my deals, I'll sign a personal guarantee. I never offer it up. Like I'll always say, hey, you get added to my insurance policy. I'll record a mortgage so you're secured in first or second lien. And then number three, I'll give you a notarized promissory note. I never mention number four, the personal guarantee. But if it comes up, I'll sign it. Because at the end of the day, we shouldn't be raising money if we're not 1,000% confident in who we are, what we're doing, how to underwrite, how to build a team. So, and then you have to decide though, when you sign a personal guarantee, understand that exposes your personal assets. So, if your private money lender wants to spend the time, money, and energy into suing you, I mean, they can. So, it's 50-50 on PGs.
Got it. And then on these properties, generally, are you advising people to do one lender per property, or it can be multiple lenders? And are there any PPMs or any that sort of a thing
Yeah.
involved in that?
So with what I do, I don't do PPMs. I don't need to even, and this is going to look, you guys, I'm not a real estate attorney, right? So go talk to your attorneys. But what I've done is I've had up to three, four private lenders on a deal. And the way I avoid, um, you know, securities issues or not being compliant is if you have three, even four private money lenders on one deal, that's fine. You just have to have four separate set of loan documents and four lien positions. That's it. You're compliant. It's all good. Some of you may be thinking, who's going to go in a fourth lien position? Everybody. Nobody cares once you've done a good job of showing them how you've underwritten the deal. If you don't want to do that, then have your real estate attorney create a multi-membership LLC. All four of your private money lenders will have undivided interest, and that LLC can be in first lien position. So there are a couple different ways you can approach it. If you're going to go take down a shopping center or a multifamily, then talk to a securities attorney about getting a PPM in place.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have a great point that sometimes we make it more complicated than it needs to
Right.
be, right? Because a lot of times, especially with private money, the biggest thing would be is make sure you've done your homework. That would be
Right.
the biggest thing. You don't want to put people in a bad position. So, Ms. Amy, what would be the next thing as far as you mentioned something which was interesting was that you always suggest that people should put the payments on the back end. So interest and when you pay back the principal, that's when you suggest that they basically make the interest payments.
Yeah, if you're flipping houses, but that's not the only strategy, right? Like I do short-term rentals too. So on our short-term rentals, and it all depends on the deal. I just started actually just last week offering 10% annualized with quarterly interest payments because the short-term rental strategies is different, right? And the numbers differ than flipping and having a property for less than 12 months. So it could be there are a lot of my friends who offer 8%. I'm never going to go down to 8%. You know why? At 10 to 12%, it's still easy to get that yes from your private money lenders. If you guys are wholesaling deals, depending on where you live, you may have to double close, right? So you still need to raise money. That's called transactional funding. The cost of transactional funding can be anywhere from 1 to 4 points of the loan amount. So it just depends on what your strategy is. I have a lot of students who go by turnkey rentals. So 10% is not going to work on a turnkey rental. We're not forcing any appreciation. So the sweet spot there is going to be 6% annualized with monthly interest only payments out of the cash flow. So it just depends
Got
on
it.
your investment strategy.
Got it. That makes perfect sense. And as far as paperwork, like whenever people work with you, you provide or you give them kind of a sample of
Mhm.
paperwork because for some people that are new, they don't understand, right? Something like a note or a mortgage
Yeah.
or personal guarantee. Maybe there's not a personal guarantee. Those types of things. How do you advise people they should go get that?
Yeah, well, what I'm supposed to tell you is go get it from your real estate attorney or title company. What I do though is I give you guys, if you're, in my circle, I just give you my contracts, but I tell you, these have been reviewed by my attorney in my market. What you choose to do is on you, but I'll coach them through what a promissory note is and what it means and a PG and all that stuff. Yeah, but I'm supposed to tell you, get those from your real estate attorney.
Got it. That makes perfect sense. Did I miss anything else that you wanted to cover?
I don't think so. I mean, it's really interesting chatting with you today because I just feel like when you do this business the right way with the right people, and of course you can share, wins and losses. It's like I could talk to you about this for weeks, right? I know our time is limited, but of course there's a lot that goes into being a successful real estate investor, whether it's building your team or raising money. But you guys just start with community. Andrew, you've got an amazing community in Chicago, right? So start with community, lean into your community when you guys have questions. Find a mentor, somebody who is where you want to be, and have them help you with their lessons learned and their mistakes so that you can get to the finish line sooner than later. But as far as raising money is concerned and the journey of a real estate investor, no, I think we're good. I think we've covered the highlights. And of course, if anyone has questions, you guys can connect with me on Instagram. I always make sure to respond to questions. So let me know how I can support you guys moving forward.
Sure. Amy, what's the best way of reaching you?
It would be through Instagram or LinkedIn, and it's just Amy
Okay.
Mahjoory.
Okay, Amy Mahjoory through Instagram and LinkedIn. Guys, this has been really awesome because one of the biggest hurdles most people have, Andrew, I can't find the money, right? Today it's I can't find the deal, I can't find the money. Those are the two big hurdles, but there was a lot of things Miss Amy touched on. This has been absolutely awesome. Again, thank you for joining us on Cashflow for Life. Miss Amy, thanks a bunch, and we appreciate you, and we will direct a bunch of people your way. Thanks a bunch,
Thank you
and
so
have a good
much.
day.
Appreciate you.
Okay, bye-bye.